creating a relationships is a two-step process. Now, we did the first step in the previous training video, and if you haven't watched that, you want to watch it, otherwise this one's going to be very confusing to you. And as you recall, what we did is we created foreign keys, which are basically a copy of the primary key field, like I did in the employees table, and added it to the computers because I want to keep track of all the computers that are assigned to each employee. So when you open up the employees table, I basically replicated the primary key field, didn't copy over the primary key, just replicated the field, which includes the name of the field and the type of data stored in that field, or the data type, and went to the computers and added it over as the last field within the computers table, and you can see it there, employee ID. And it has right now stored at least up to 24 employees who have computers assigned to them, where over in the employees table we have a lot more than 24. So once you have those two set up, there's a place you can go to within Access that you can then hook up those tables together or relate them. So I want to go ahead and pull up, like, let's say the last name of the employee and the computer that they're assigned to, the asset tag or barcode number. I don't have to pull up all these fields. I can do a query that says, okay, between these two tables, give me the asset tag and the employee's last name. It makes it a lot more efficient than me coming in here and pulling up both tables and going, okay, the last name is Klinger, and the computer that they're assigned to, well, the employee ID is 1. Computer, let's see, employee ID is 1. It's this one, asset tag 1001. Now, in addition to that, when all is said and done, at least with my tables, they're all going to have relationships either directly or indirectly. What I don't recommend doing is taking one table and linking them out to all the other tables. For example, with my database here, I've got the computers linked to the employees. And the computers are also linked to the manufacturers. I'm not going to link the employees to the manufacturers because it's got nothing to do, at least, with computers directly. So if I want to pull up an employee and the manufacturer that produced the computer for that employee, or the computer that's assigned to it, because the computers is linked to the employees and also the manufacturers, I got an indirect link that can pull up that information without having to pull up all three tables and trying to narrow down the employee with the manufacturer code in the computers and then to the manufacturer name over in the manufacturer's table. And then departments is linked directly to the employees, and so if I want to find out how many computers are in each department, I don't have to pull up the employees because computers is linked to the employees and indirectly through the employees to the departments. Like I said, when all is said and done, all these tables are going to be linked up together either directly or indirectly. But again, not doing it all directly because for the most part, most of the databases I've seen, it's not very efficient. Now, there's a place you can go to in Access to go ahead and start creating these links between the primary key field in one table, like the employee ID, to the foreign key field in the other table that has the same name as the primary key and the same type of data, like in the computers here. And that can be found up here on the Database Tools tab to the Relationships group and click on Relationships, and you get this Relationships screen here. And metaphorically speaking, I call it the dance floor. In other words, when you have people on the dance floor, they're going to look at each other and try to find something in common or something that they like about them. And then you start creating those relationships or hooking up or linking up. So how do we get these tables, or metaphorically speaking, these people onto the dance floor so we can see what they got in common and what they're going to be able to relate to? Being able to see their primary key and the foreign key fields and linking them up. To do that, you can do it one of a couple of ways. Either right-click anywhere on the dance floor, again, metaphorically speaking, and go down to Show Table, and it shows all the people or all the tables here that we can add to the dance floor, as it were, or you can come up here on the Design tab to the Relationships group, you get Show Table, brings up the same window. Now you can either go ahead and double-click to add a table, or you want to do two or more tables, you can hold down the Shift key and do a block selection from computers down to employees, and it selects everything in between, like the departments table. That's using the Shift key, or if you want to hold down the Control key and then click, 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 you can make various selections that don't have the tables one next to the other, and then go ahead and click Add. Now after you close out, if you added the same table twice, it'll show you here, there's the original computers and there's computers one more in addition to the original. That's okay, just go ahead and select it and either hit the delete key on the keyboard or right click on it and go down to Hide Table. It doesn't actually delete the table from the database, it removes it from your relationships view. Now we have all these tables on the dance floor, or these people as it were, and we want to be able to find out what they have in common. Now see if this makes sense the way I've set it up. When I'm looking at employees, if I go ahead and click and drag the title bar and move the table over, and let me drag the manufacturers down so I'm just focused over here with the employees and the computers, which by the way, if you have more fields here than what you can see, if you hover over the bottom or actually any one of the sides until you can see arrows pointing in opposite directions, You can click and drag to stretch it open more or close it up, and then you get the scroll bar to be able to see all the fields. You have to move up and down, but I'm going to go ahead and stretch mine open. As you recall, I have the primary key employee ID in the employees table, and then I created the foreign key in the computers table. And so doesn't it make a little bit more sense when it comes to identifying what field is the foreign key field in one table that you want to link to the primary key field in the other table in the relationships view? I mean, they got the same names, so it's easy for me to target and identify that I want to link these two up and hook them up together. They have something in common. You could go ahead and give it whatever name you want, like PLOY for Ploy ID. I mean, it sounds kind of cool, but if that makes sense to you and that's supposed to go to the employee ID, that's fine. But if I look at this and I'm like, Ploy, what is that? And it's not as easy for me to make the connection than it would be for you for your database. You just have to make sure that it's got the same data type or type of data and data within those fields. So anytime I add a new computer, I have to pull an ID from the employees table. So if there's 48 IDs and I add a new computer and I say, okay, I'll go ahead and assign it to employee 49 and I just have 48, when I link them up or create that relationship, this table over here is going to say, what are you doing? I don't have employee 49, so you can't save that record. You can only enter an ID that we have available in the employees table. So there's the data integrity there, so I'm not adding extra employees that shouldn't be assigned a computer when we don't really have any employees over here in the employees table. So they have something in common here. Let's go ahead and link them up by clicking and dragging, and it doesn't matter, at least not in this training video here, when we're dragging the foreign key field to the primary key field. It doesn't matter if we do it primary to foreign or foreign to primary. Just go ahead and click and drag, and when you start moving it, you're going to move it right on top of the other field that you're going to be relating it to, and you can see that when I drag it over the dance floor, I get this circle with the line through it saying, hey, you can't create a relationship with the floor, so you'll come over here and you'll move it right on top of the, in this case, the primary key field, and you got the little plus sign. Go ahead and let go, and it opens up the Edit Relationships window where it says it wants to take the employee ID from the employees table and relate it to the employee ID found in the computers table. Now, if we create this relationship without enforcing referential integrity, that means that I just discussed a minute ago, let me click and drag this down, that if I add a lot of computers and I start adding an employee ID number that's not found in this database, well, then I can go ahead and do that and it's not being enforced. So that can be really confusing when later on we do an audit of the database. We're like, hey, I gave this computer to employee 50. There's no such employee in the employees tables, so let's go ahead and enforce it. There is a time where you may not want to enforce it, depending upon the fields that you want to go ahead and hook up. Maybe as far as computers go, you may relate the computers table to another table, maybe call it notes, that you don't want to enforce the referential integrity because some of the computers may have notes, but not all of them. So if not all of them have to have a note, then you don't want to enforce it because that means that every computer has to have some sort of note. Maybe we have notes on the computers that says, okay, we fixed it today, this one's broken, the warranty's up next week, and other computers we just don't have anything to make a note about, then we don't want to enforce it. But to make sure that what we add in the computers table is found also in the employees and vice versa, let's go ahead and enforce that. In other words, the definition, to get more technical, is going to prevent the user from entering in a value that doesn't exist in the related table, and also accidental deletion or changes that would invalidate the relationship between the two tables.